I worked on it after all, my vocal techniques. It's like the record you mentioned, Seven Day of Doom. It's from '87. I was 16, very early, and then of course, like you said, I've grown up on like Battery, Celtic Frost, all these bands, German thrash, black metal, and of course that's even today that's the basic, but that was then very much the basic I built it, or I tried to sound like too, on my own way. But I guess what happened is also that I not only listen metal, so I got a lot of influence like in like dark ambient bands, even old underground industrial, stuff like, but even the old industrial like Test Department or maybe like Einstürzen and Neubauten, or Diamond the Galas, or like great artists, all very dark, Old Swans, bands like that.
Greetings, friends, and welcome to episode 200 of Into the Necrosphere. This week we are celebrating a milestone by talking to the legendary Attila of Mayhem. He and I spoke all about our shared love of high-end audio. We spoke about what it was like returning to Mayhem in 2004 after he had briefly taken some time away from the band. We also spoke about what it was like recording the Mysteriis Dom Sathanas, his constantly evolving vocal style, and much, much more. This is one of the most candid conversations, if not the most candid conversation you are going to find with him anywhere, and it's going to be coming your way very shortly. But before we get to that, way back in September 2019, the very first episode of Into the Necrosphere dropped on YouTube. The very first song I played was off a fantastic record by Stellar Master Elite called Hologram Temple. The track is Apocalypsis, and it seems only fitting that we listen to it again right now. You just listened to Apocalypsis by Stellar Master Elite off the amazing album Hologram Temple. It's available right now on Bandcamp. Check out the link in the description to the podcast. A throwback to the very first episode of the show where Marco of Stellar Master Elite not only gave me an hour of his time, but he endured at least 10 false starts. As we are celebrating a milestone, I did want to say thank you first and foremost to all the band members who've been on this podcast over the course of 200 episodes. It has been such a pleasure getting to know you all. I am so incredibly appreciative of the time that you've given to the show, particularly folks that really bought into the concept of Into the Necrosphere, and recorded a good 2, maybe even sometimes 3 hours with me, as has been the case with my now good friend Sam Bean of Werewolves. That's also been one of the great things about getting to know so many people in these bands, is the folks that I now consider to be friends. And I shouted out Sam Bean, all of the guys in Werewolves I consider to be bros. The list goes on, and I feel incredibly fortunate to be in the position that I am in. I also want to say thank you to all of the industry folks that have supported the show, especially Joe and Claire at Nuclear Blast. I want to say thanks to Andy at Metal Blade, everybody at Deborah Morty Productions, Apocalyptic Witchcraft, and Gutter Prince Cabal, and then a massive thank you to Katie Irizarry at Suspiria PR, the record holder for my most ever listened to guest, somebody I am very proud to call a friend, and somebody without whose support this particular episode would not have been possible. So her support has been nothing short of amazing. And then speaking of amazing support, I would be remiss if I didn't call out every single member of the Legion. Every week, the number of folks I see sharing my content grows. The number of people reaching out to me to say how much they appreciate the podcast grows. I'm so incredibly humbled by it and so appreciative of every single person who takes time out of their day to listen to my rambling. And I hope that you know that regardless of any circumstances that I may be dealing with outside of this podcast, I make goddamn sure that every Tuesday I put out the best possible show for you that I can. And I will continue to do so, hopefully long into the future. So thank you very much. I hope you know this episode, as everyone else, but maybe this one more so than others, is dedicated to each and every member of the Legion. Now, some of you may be listening to this, new to the podcast, wondering, how do I become a member of this Legion? You don't have to pay me any money. All you need to do is grab the closest folding chair and beat the subscribe button on your streaming platform of choice until it begs you for mercy. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and X. And if you want to show your love and support to Into the Necrosphere by handing over a couple of ducats, you can get something in return by heading over to the Into the Necrosphere Teespring store. Also, make sure that you are following my very good friends, my brothers in the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse. On a Monday, we've got Brandon Legion with Horrible 666. Yours truly casts hexes and slays poses every Tuesday on Into the Necrosphere. Every Wednesday, we've got Sensei Mike Hill bringing you another installment of his podcast, Everything Went Black. He returns every Thursday alongside co-hosts Sheriff Mike Scondado and Professor Jeff Kashid with one of my favorite podcasts of the week, Necromaniacs. And then every Sunday, the Reverend Carl Haikara takes you down a tour of the dark, the weird, the arcane, and the esoteric with his podcast, Soul Knox. Look out for me on an upcoming episode of that podcast where Carl and I will be doing a deep dive into the discography of Nevermore, a band who I believe to be utterly, criminally underrated and absolutely fantastic. Another member in our ranks, newly added, I should say, is my good friend Cheyenne of the band Trivax. His podcast, Iblis Manifestations, drops an episode when you least expect it. I was the guest on the most recent episode, one of the most candid conversations I have ever had with somebody in my entire life, and great to see the feedback and the response to it so far. Make sure that you do not miss it. Also, make sure that you don't go anywhere when my conversation with Attila is done, because I'm going to be talking about the new record by Woe. That record's called Legacies of Frailty, and then I will be joined for a very special special edition of Into the Necrosphere's weekly news rant, where we will round up new singles by bands like Aeternus, Paradise Lost, and Varg for Judgement. Guest, you'll have to just wait and see. But right now, sit back as I welcome to Into the Necrosphere for the first time, definitely not the last time, Attila of Mayhem. I would not be able to celebrate episode 200 by not raising a toast with one of my favorite beers, Camden Hells. I know you've been to Camden quite a few times, so I don't know whether you've drunk Camden Hells, but yeah, it's good stuff. But we were talking just before I hit record about our shared passion for hi-fi. I noticed that you currently have a set of HPM 1100 Pioneer speakers, and you're driving those with an audio research amp?
Yes, I do. I have an audio research D70, and right now I'm driving actually different speakers. I have a self-produced speaker, which is like a modified old dual, and also I have this GVC Woodcon, which is like a new thing, came not so long ago. It's really interesting, like a one-way speaker, really cool. And yeah, I have the Celestion SL600. It's a very strange, it's an interesting speaker, like they made it from the NASA aluminum, but NASA uses for the spacecraft. You know, it's kind of like a cell technology in the aluminum. And I have a giant Pioneer speaker, you know, like the RPM 1100. So yeah, I love it, you know, and we were like developing stuff with my friends. So for many years, I listened RM. So right now I have the D70, but we developed like a speaker cable, which is really, really good, I think. And you can really hear the difference. So I would really love to share that with the fans, or like people who not just, okay, we all love music, and that's first. That's no question. But, you know, quality is also, could be the second, at least for me. You know, I really enjoy when you can hear every music, the different production clearly. You know, you feel like every time in a different studio or in a different hall, you know. It's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm kind of passionate about it. I love, you know, I don't watch that much TV or sometimes movies, but normally I just get home, you know, sit down in my chair in front of my stereo, just listen music, and it's just like meditative thinking state of mind, you know, and I enjoy the details.
I'm the same, and I try to explain to somebody once, because, you know, the average person, I think if you're into hi-fi, you understand, you know, the things like you know, when you talk about speaker cables, for example, you know, all of a sudden paying £1,100 or $2,000 or something for a set of speaker cables, the pricing starts to change in your mind versus what it would be for the average person. But what I said to someone once, as I said, like the difference for me with hi-fi, why I love it so much, is it's that emotional connection you form with the music. Like I remember when I upgraded my set last year, and I got a pair of Griffin Audio Pantheon floor standers. I got a Griffin Diablo 300 integrated amplifier, and I also swapped out my Chord Hugo TT2 DAC for a B audio DAC. And I remember switching it on for the first time, and I literally got a lump in my throat listening to the music, because it was like, it was such an elevated, like just every single element of it, like every instrument, every, like the production, the feel, as you say, like the stereo imaging. I mean, you literally can kind of place in the room where people are. It's just a completely different experience.
I know exactly what you mean. And then it's every time a good reason to listen again all your records.
Exactly.
All your stuff, because then you want to hear the difference in all your music. It's a beautiful passion. And I just love it. You know, when you sit in the right position in a stereo, it's very old school, you know, but you hear with a good system, it's almost like surround, you know, you hear the sounds around you, and it's really focused. And I like that. It's actually, to me, it's kind of like almost like a magical thing, because when it's good sound, the music and or the artist or the whole thing, they can appear, they're manifest, and if you listen some really dark, for instance, well, maybe like current 93 records from the 80s, like really dark ambient. I mean, if I turn off the light, I really feel like I open some hell in my room, really. Yeah. And it's not about the volume; it's about the quality. Like it's
100%,
or it's just like the natural appearance and how sound can manifest, and of course, like all hi-fi is about to make sound as clean as possible. Like people think it's about the bass or the high. Actually, it's about the middle range first, and it's about, because that's where our ears are the most sensitive. And it's like when I heard first like this super expensive stereo, I was disappointed. Like, what is the deal? Where is the big sound? And it's not really about that. It's about, of course, they can sound big, and there are systems big, but it's not about the volume, the size. It's about the clarity, and it's about the magic, how much you can manifest the whole thing. It's like a next dimension and an extra dimension to the music. So it's totally, it's kind of psychedelic experiment almost. You sit there, especially it's like when it's no lights, or like, that depends what you want. But for dark music, I think it's very good to listen it like darkness, and then you lose your sense of space, and like, I love that stuff, it's yeah. So, and actually you are right about the prices. It's like they go very expensive above a certain level. It's a little bit like luxury cars. I don't know. It's a lot of snobism there too, I must
admit. That is true. I heard
like rich people, of course.
I heard a pair of Tech speaker cables on demo last year at the Munich high-end hi-fi show.
You've been
1 meter, $94,000.
I know.
Like, but Jesus Christ,
that's super craziness. That's that's just for super rich people. I don't know. I mean, I would like to listen to it before I can really say anything about that. But yeah, it's for instance, like when you look at the design of my, like, for instance, audio research, at least my one, like, it's so purified. It's so much about the sound, not about the look, for instance, and my, of course, the cable, I don't know the price yet, but of course it should be accessible for all the people like us, all our fans. Like, if you can spend a couple of €100 on a vinyl, if you are a vinyl collector, and you must have a stereo at home, and you must use, because sometimes you don't use speaker cables anymore. For instance, if it's like a Bluetooth speaker, or these new systems, maybe you can't even switch the cables. But it's, my cable would be aimed for our collectors, who are like collecting the vinyls, and they love music. They are extra special fans. And I mean, if you can spend a couple of $100 on a vinyl, you could be able to spend a couple of $100 on the cable. But I guarantee it's worth it. Or if you don't like it, you can send it back. I will see. But it will do exactly that thing. Adds that kind of touch to the music. If you change even the cable. But I could talk a lot about this cable. It's a long story. It's like 20 years of development. I would never come up with a cable ever, because I'm like more like a fan. If I would not know the whole story, and I would not be sure about that this is like where to come with this idea, which sounds like bizarre for someone who is not so much into hi-fi, but I can guarantee it will add that little touch which you're looking for, when you buy a more expensive system. So yeah, it's like, it's opening the space. It's like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but you can hear the difference. And
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think anybody that's experienced hi-fi will know what you're talking about as well. It's that airiness that it injects into the music, that it gives you that more open sound stage,
and
everything just sounds a little bit clearer.
You hear more, that all the instruments, separately and more detailed, and the whole music is more joyful, more enjoyable, and you get less tired of it. Like if it's a distortion, our brain constantly fixing it, so to say. I mean, sometimes I listen music just from my phone, and I love that. I love music, like just my phone speakers. Don't take me wrong, music is first, but you can't listen that the whole day. It would kill you. It would kill me. I mean, and the other end of this, when I get a good stereo, I can listen it non-stop, never disturbs. It's good feeling. That's me. But I've been actually crazy about this since my early age. I think I was like 12 years old or something when first I was looking into it, and I was already collecting like this, I don't know, catalogs of amps and all the stuff. So it started for me very early, old fashioned. Kind of same old as the music. Came to me then. Sorry.
The cable, just out of interest, what is it? A copper based cable or is it a silver based cable?
It's copper based, but we came out. It was actually even it's a special system. Actually, it didn't even start as a cable. We had first a device. It's hard to explain, but there was a device which we could put in between the speaker and the amp. And through the years, through the many experiments, we figured out how to do it. So it's a very special wired cable, but it's copper based. And it's not really tricks, but there is a new system in it, which is like sending a signals in a different way. It's hard to explain now, but I think it's something very unique. I think it's different from the other cables in that sense, and can bring the effect. Like I tested it with like a 5K cable, and I did like blind test with it, like proper. And different cables, so you could tell. I mean, I think I'm good with it, and it's not gonna cost like thousands of euros. I mean, I think it will be like maybe a couple of hundred. I hope. We'll see. It's handmade. It just needs some time. I have to set it up. I'm not in a rush, but it would be lovely to have that out. But it has to be accessible. Accessible thing. I don't want something like. For the few, it would be great if, our people, our metalhead people, us, we could access it. And who wants to spend thousands of euros on a cable? It's like, it would not make any sense, I think.
Yeah. I've always thought, as I've gotten more into the hobby, one of the things I've thought about hi-fi is that they kind of miss the boat a little bit when it comes to metal fans in particular, because if you think about people that are incredibly passionate about music, buy a lot of music, who are certainly some of the biggest audiences for things like vinyl, it's almost a bit of a missed opportunity. But I think what the hi-fi industry gets wrong is there's not enough brands that have that entry point to get people hooked. I mean, like for me, you spend your money the way you want to spend your money at the end of the day, but you have to get people hooked or introduced into it first. And you're not going to get them introduced by saying, hey, the only way you can get into this brand is by buying those bookshelves that we're selling for £25,000 or 25,000 euro. It's like you have to give them something that gets them interested in it. Like because not many people grow up like you and I. Like my entry into hi-fi was being completely obsessed with my dad's NAD 3080 integrated amplifier, and he had actually taken a set of the HPM 1100s, because those were produced in like 1980, between 1980 and 1982. He took them apart. I don't know where he got the crossovers from, but he built his own speaker out of that. I think he used a different bass driver, but he used the Pioneer mid-range and the Pioneer tweeter. But I remember, even as a little kid, my mom spoke to me about it again the other day. She was like, before you could walk properly, you were twiddling the knobs around trying to figure out how it worked. And I would put a record on and just lie on my back and listen to music. Like my parents were so lucky to, as far as me being a toddler is concerned, because I was naughty. As long as I had music to listen to, I was happy. But like that started my fascination with hi-fi.
We are very similar then.
Yeah.
We are very similar then. But exactly like for us, I mean, for me, I just first when I heard the stereo, it's blown my mind. I remember that clearly at my friend's place. His dad brought this from Kuwait, like an old hi-fi system, like a Technic system, was really good. And that was it for me. And then I was like, yeah, this is what I want, and then I started to build my systems piece by piece, especially being from Hungary. It was hard to access and my family was not wealthy or anything. So I had to do it like piece by piece. And when I got, I had an engineer degree, and when I got like my early 20s, then when I went into the high end, actually, that's when the more expensive you talked about, I just actually explored it. I couldn't afford it. And I met some people. I met this guy who are like geniuses. Maybe they didn't make it like that big, but they really, because, the best amps made by ears, not just by some engineering, but you really have to listen and match the parts, like see which parts, how it sounds even better, but you really have to have a taste and a good ear and obsession. So it's not just an engineering work. You can do it by the book, but maybe it will, like have these great parameters on the book when you do the measurements. But when you put in music, actually, another amp might sound more natural, better, and it's like it's a science, and it's the whole point. I think that you have to also learn how to listen first. Like you don't, because our ears are a little bit distorted. Like, everybody is using these days, like the mega bass system, the sub, I don't know, loudness, whatever, but that kills the space. And the whole point is to have the space in the music. So you hear clearly the instruments. I don't know if you guys like classical music, but then it's the most visible when you have a good hi-fi. You hear the different instruments, they manifest. But that hi-fi is really good, I think, for a battery record too. Here is the thing. I think is or like an underground metal. I just picked up battery and they sound good, and like it's a great experiment, and it's a great joy for me. I mean, I love music. It's all my life is about it almost, and then my passion is hi-fi. So yeah, it's a bit crazy, but I think it's a very healthy passion, and I think it's very good for your mind. You have a good system, and it gives more joy. I mean, the joy comes from the music, but then again, the sound can make it like really can add that thing. But makes it, at least for me, very, very joyful, and like an ecstatic to listen music. Even just I'm sitting, and I feel like goosebumps sometimes. And
let me ask you a question. Does that understanding of fidelity and of sound, do you apply that in any way to what Mayhem does? Because if I think about Demon as an example, I've listened to it on this setup. I've listened to it on even more expensive setups than the one that I have. And that's a great example to me of a record that kind of retains that raw, real kind of, slap you in the face kind of feel, that underground feel. But there's such beautiful separation between every single thing. Like your voice comes out really clearly. Hellhammer's drums, just absolutely pound you in the face, but you can hear every single note that he's playing. Necro Butcher's, bass is really good. And what I've found, interestingly enough, where sometimes with high-end audio, I find high-end audio tends to not necessarily, it tends to almost be too transparent with certain recordings. But whereas with Demon, as an example, I find like Demon's brilliance is it kind of gets amplified the more almost in some ways, the more expensive and the more high end you go. And as you're kind of explaining this to me, I was kind of wondering, like, do you get involved in the mixing and things like that or certainly on that record?
Actually, no. And but yet I have to agree. I told this story to our sound engineer and producer that I don't know who mastered, but someone did a great job because I was also like impressed when I heard the final result that it was good even on the hi-fi level. It's a good recording. Yeah, I was not so much, but he knows that I'm into this, of course. But I was not there. I was not there at the mixing or the mastering. I'm staying in Hungary, and this was made in Sweden. And I think even we were busy with other stuff. But thank you for your compliments. And I would not say it with all the records I've done, but with this one, I must agree, it turned out good in that sense. So it's not bad to listen on a good. I mean, yeah, some music, of course, when you put on a good stereo, you will hear that it's a weak production. But that's what it is. It's the truth, If you have like a very commercial stereo, which is like tuned for the commercial ears, then most of the music will sound very similar, And I mean, it's if you put like all the echoes or like loudness and all the stuff on the top of the music, that will add like an equivalent, like doesn't matter what kind of music listen, it's gonna sound similar. In a good stereo, every music sounds very different, of course. So there you can hear the production. But I think it's really interesting, even if it's okay, maybe it's a weaker production. First it's strange, but then you get used to it, So or actually the production should also somehow represent the music, or it should go align with the idea of the song or the idea of the music or the record or the stuff. So like the Ordo album, we made it like so underworld, it was a bit too much, but that's somehow the music required that bizarreness, and this, I don't know, this album sounded good, and I must admit, apart from the music, the production is also pretty good. Yeah. So
Ordo ad Chaos is an interesting one because I love that album, but sometimes with music it's like when you hear something at just the right time and everything clicks. My first experience of that record wasn't on a hi-fi or anything like that. It was on a pair of cans like this, and I remember listening to it end to end, and it literally, as you were describing earlier about like really dark ambient music when the lights are down, it sounds like you're standing in hell, you're standing in a nightmare. I mean, Ordo ad Chaos literally feels like it has this very dream-like quality to it, but like the most horrible dream you can imagine.
Yes, actually it's interesting you bring this up, bro, because Gunnar Schurman, he's a friend of mine. Is Schurman. It's hard to say the names. He used to work for Metal Hammer Germany, and he did a review of Ordo, and he told me the same, that he listened it, like he turned off the lights, and actually he kind of freaked out. It was like very. Actually, that album works well in the darkness, for sure. Ordo works like that's kind of, it's so much other world, so you kind of lose reality if you listen it in like pitch black darkness, it's very different, very different production.
It's also, and I actually I had Eric on the podcast a while, Runa on the podcast a while back.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking to me about the writing of the record. And one thing I said to him, and I'm curious to get your take on it as well, with that record in particular, it's very sparing with like the moments of payoff that it gives you. Like what I mean is like the end of Illuminate, Eliminate, for example. It's like the song is built up and built up and built up, and then you get that incredible melody that just comes flying out of it. And again, if you listen to it in the right environment, the way the way that melody impacts, purely because of all the discordance and all the chaos and the craziness that preceded it, it's so much more effective, and it just absolutely kind of grabs you by surprise. And I find no matter how many times you listen to it, you almost kind of still get that same thrill that you got when you first heard it. But that was one thing that I loved about that record. It did that frequently, but that's like part of the journey. It's also not a record, I think, that, like a lot of music nowadays, I think, people just consume as one track or two tracks, or maybe they listen to their three favorite tracks. Auto at KO absolutely is a record you must listen to from start to finish. You'll not truly appreciate it otherwise.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's a complex album, and all songs were connected. So it's a kind of like a concept record. And the songs were connected like both vertical and horizontal, actually, I can tell you. So it's something a lot, I mean, that, and also Esoteric Warfare, like albums you could dig into, like the lyrics, like the esoteric lyrics, you can almost Google each line has another meaning if you take time or if you really dig yourself. And some fans do. They sometimes write me or ask me about stuff about the lyrics, and it's very interesting how they figure out. Or even I saw some like unofficial video someone made that was from the Esoteric record, but they really, really captured actually my message behind the words. And the Ordo record too, like, for instance, the connection is not just like the side A and the side B is two groups, and the first four and the last four songs evolving to each other, but also the first song connected to the eighth song, the second to the seventh, the third to the sixth. I don't know, it's a long time ago, but there were like all these kind of connections, and I mean, that was that was that kind of album, very very different. But I think these albums, like you said too, like I think they need time to, or they are out of time. Like you like it or hate it, or you need to give time for it. You can, from one listening, you're not gonna get it probably. Yeah, it's good to listen the whole stuff. It's not just about songs. It's kind of like the whole thing, like connected, and it's complex, especially the Ordo. Like you pointed out, it was a good point.
That was your first record back with Mayhem after you returned to the band. What was it like coming back to the band after you'd left? Because you were away for about 10 years, were you not?
Yes, it was very ecstatic, of course. I mean, we met first after the Norwegian session, like after 93, when I sang the Mysteriis album. We lost connection, and we met in 98 in Italy, when I already played one song with Mayhem, and it was released as Malevolent Capta, it's a live record, and I sang From the Dark Past together with Maniac. But that time I was also in a very dark age, and no one could see what was going to be happening, But I already, like, I met Necro first time then, I met Rune first time, Maniac first time. I only knew Jan, We started to keep contact, especially with Necro, and he started to say to me, we became like good friends, of course. Like, yeah, maybe, like sometimes Maniac was a little bit unstable, but nothing was sure. So it was not planned. So I had my other bands. I had Sun, I had Keep of Kalesin, for instance. I even had Aborim, but that was kind of like ending by that time. So I had some other stuff, and when it happened, it just happened after the Chimera album that I think, Sven Maniac, who's a great vocalist and great performer, I think. And now I can understand a little bit more than then that it was, it's not easy, not always easy. It's kind of heavy sometimes on your shoulder to be on the front of a Mayhem stage. People have expectations. It's a craziness, and he just had problems. I don't know, his personal problems or whatever. I would not be cool to. It should be he should tell. But anyway, somehow he split or they split. He quit. So then they, of course, naturally asked me first if I was ready to join. And of course I was. I mean, you could see that a little bit happening, but it was not calculated. You couldn't see it for sure. So they called me in August, and I joined the band in January. So it was something like that, and in 2004 August, and I joined like officially in 2004 December, actually. But yeah.
So it took a bit of time to convince you.
No. I was okay, but we just left time. Yeah, it was not. I was excited to do it, But I wanted to make sure that it's all cool, Everything is cool with this. I was excited, so they didn't have to convince me too much in that sense. I was excited to do it, but also it was like, and then I also needed like some time to learn the songs properly, So I prepared myself, and I did the Norwegian tour with them in 2005 January. That was my first tour with Mayhem, and and since then it's been 20 years almost. That's crazy,
That is incredible. And just as a side note, by the way, before I ask you another Mayhem question, I've got to tell you, with no human intervention by Aborum, if anybody wants to dig into some like forgotten gems, that album is fucking fantastic. I remember seeing a review of it in Terrorizer magazine, and it was the album title with no human intervention. It just sounded hard, and I remember listening to the record, just loved it. Absolutely did what it said on the cover. Just like complete kind of techno black metal insanity.
Thank you. Yeah, that was like I love that era also of my career. That was like, I met up with Aborim in '98, actually at that time when I was in this Milan show in Mayhem, and I ended up singing on two and a half records, so to say, first like a guest and then 2 full lengths. And that was the thing, like, actually when I was joined Mayhem in '93, I had a band called Plasma Pool in Hungary, which was like this dark electro stuff, kind of industrialish, like we were influenced by Skinny Puppy and stuff, but I wanted to do something like that, but more dark and evil, but it was very challenging. Like before computer times, you had to have synthesizers, electric drum kit, but you play live, of course, like no program, and all that kind of stuff. But I loved it. I loved that stuff. So actually, with Aborim was my idea, or what I think it was my influence too, and the guys kind of came with me into that, like mixing, like put together Plasma Pool and Mayhem, what I had, if you put it like in one, like that's kind of like became Aborim, like industrial black metal. And I really enjoyed that. And it was a bit sad that we kind of fallen apart, like Seth went to Dissection, later Nice Rock, Niche Rock, he started his band Alien Vampires, like pure industrial. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. There was some bullshit. So I'm sorry that I'm kind of sad that we stopped that. But Faban still continued. He made a couple of more records after, but that was not the same lineup. It
I'm
was
about to
something
say
else, another
it
era.
definitely didn't have the same vibe to it. Didn't have the same feel.
Yeah.
You made an interesting comment earlier about, and I certainly can imagine that it would be so, but I'm curious to get your take on why that's the case. You mentioned being Mayhem frontman is not easy, and that you kind of have those expectations on your shoulder. You're the focal point for, arguably the biggest and certainly the most famous band in black metal. So talking first of all about when you initially joined and you were on the Mysteries record. Did you at that point experience pressure, or did you feel like there was a level of expectation on your performance, stepping in for Dead?
Not really like that. It was like Euronymous reached me, because they loved my first band, Tormentor, and that was kind of like the favorite band of Dead and also Euronymous. They both loved it. So one of the topic was not just that I should replace Dead, but also he wanted really to release the Anno Domini record. We just had the Tormentor and it was unreleased. So, when first I heard the songs, I heard Death Crush. It was okay, interesting, but was like punky, old school. I felt like it's cool, but I felt like I was there with Tormentor. But when I also heard their, the new songs, the demos of the Mysteriis, that was like a next level. But there was like another band, of course. Also, the drummer changed, like Hellhammer played. Was something I never heard before. So I got really touched, and then I got really into the idea and inspired, into the music. Like I saw the potential. But when I was in Norway, I just felt like it would be stupid to do the same like I did with Tormentor or try to copy Dead. But I always like to do new things and experiment. And that time I experimented a lot with my new style, vocal style, this kind of, I don't know, dark, more melody, a little bit less screamy, less screaming. So I just showed this to the guys, in the studio, and Euronymous was totally blown away. Yeah, it was like inspiring. They were actually, everybody was in the studio that time when I recorded the vocals, and everybody agreed on that, and they inspired me to go that way. So this is how that record, the vocals, born, and it was kind of quick recordings. I think relatively. I recorded the vocals in 3 days, maybe, and we didn't have too much rehearsals before, just maybe a few. So, and it was before the digital technology, so you really had to focus. There was like one track left for the vocal or something. Of course, everything was maxed out. So if I made a mistake, I had to do the whole thing again. There was no. So yeah, it was different era, and to me it's about to manifest. That time it was second time in my life I was in a good studio. Like first with Tormentor, we were in the 80s, which was an okay studio too. But this one in Greek Hallen was like even better. Like it's probably it must be one of the best studios in Norway. I mean, it's Greek Hallen. Grieg is this famous Norwegian composer, and it's named after him. It's a whole music complex in Bergen, and I just wanted to do magic. So I asked like pitch black the room. No one could see me. I asked curtains on the window because there was a control room window. I asked for some candles, and I wanted to be kind of alone, the darkness, and just do my stuff. you know, so I could move around, I could do whatever I wanted, you know. That was special actually, because even since then I didn't do like that. I mean, I have one candle here or there, but that was candle. I don't know. I just don't like to repeat even that thing. Why should I? You know, I just went with the flow. But it was magical, and I was focusing on like the feeling, the emotion too. You know, not just the music. And one time I remember with the Buried, Hellhammer had to come in because of the timing. It was too much. So he had to help me. He gave me like some signals, you know. Like a conductor. So yeah, but other than that, that was also smooth, but I just definitely wanted to do on my own way, and didn't really care about other expectations than my bandmates. You know, if they were happy, I was happy. You know, and I didn't really think about what people will say about it, or what's going to happen when it's going to be out. Of course, it was like actually like that was already like a buzz about the record, like expectations, but it was still so underground, you know. It's just the whole story about Mayhem, like we all know the stories about the church burning and of course the suicide and stuff. But people were really like looking forward now, okay, how it's gonna sound, you know, how it's gonna be the first full length, you know. And so certainly there were expectations from other people, musicians, fans, whatsoever. But I even didn't meet anyone, you know, on that trip. I think I only met Metallion and the bandmates on the whole Norwegian trip, you know. And and I didn't know much, to be honest, about the Norwegian underground, apart from that what I just heard about it. I was never a part of it before, like active like that, you know, so I didn't know people. It's not like today, of course, like it's different. It's not so underground anymore. But it's, I mean, compared to what I think it is actually. It's still not pop, certainly not music, but I think it's still underground, but not like then. You know, then we were almost like Public Enemy.
I was just about to say you were outlaws.
Oh yeah. It was like that was a total different. We had to watch our back all the time. It was like, it was from that sense. It was from that point of view. It was kind of outlaw feeling, like edgy.
How did you discover, or how did you evolve and develop that voice that you had? So you mentioned you were kind of tapping into a more emotional range, if you will, with your singing, and that's something that your voice is almost kind of taken on a persona of its own, especially over the course of, you know, the Mayhem records. You can hear that evolution. And I went back and I listened to some of the Tormentor demos. You know, on the Seventh Day of Doom, you can hear some of it's there. You can hear it's you, but it's almost got a more punky. It's almost kind of like a more, I'm trying to find the right word, a more considered, a more thought out vocal. Like when I hear you vocaling on Mysteries and, or you know, Auto at KO, you know, even on Demon, it feels like it's coming from somewhere in your subconscious, and it's kind of just manifesting itself through the microphone. But where did that come about? Because it's something that, I mean, as you know, because I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you this, but it's incredibly unique in black metal to have that. Like the only two people I can think of that can truly kind of delve into that next level of emotion and feeling is you and Mortis from Marduk. You know, and I truly believe you are the absolute master when it comes to that.
Oh, thank you very much. It's. I mean, this technique was like I worked on it after all, you know, my vocal techniques. It's like the record you mentioned, 7 Day of Doom. It's from '87. I was 16, very early, and then of course, like you said, I've grown up on like Battery, you know, Celtic Frost, all these bands, German thrash, black metal, and of course, even today, that's the basic. But that was then very much the basic. I built it, or I tried to sound like too, on my own way. But I guess what happened is also that I not only listen metal, so I got a lot of influence, like in like dark ambient bands, even old underground industrial, stuff, like, but even the old industrial, like Test Department, or maybe like Einstürzen den Neubauten, or Diamond the Galas, or like great artists, all very dark, old Swans, bands like that. I also listened, because I had this passion, like, okay, I sang in black metal, but that was also in the metal was very peripheral. So not mainstream metal, not necessarily liked us, actually. So we were kind of like in our unique sphere, and also to the Tormentor shows, like we had many. It's not like maybe Mayhem, they didn't have too many shows in the 80s. We had a lot. I had a lot of shows, and Tormentor got relatively big in Hungary. Like we had like 1,000 people, a crowd at the end, but even in the 88, I remember like we had this show, I know because it was around the Anno Domini time, and I asked how many people, and they said 700. I remember. And I even didn't care. I thought it's whatever. I mean, to me, Mayhem was big, they had 50,000, or whatever. Like
yeah.
So I was like whatever. But still, a lot of people came from like punk, skinhead, or whatever, you call it. I don't know, even goth didn't exist, the name, like, for goth music. It was, we just called it dark, I don't know, underground. And all these different people started to show up on our shows, and I met them, and we started to share music. This is how I got into these musics we are talking about. And when the drummer of Tormentor, Zsolt, the present drummer, but the second drummer, like, he was the second drummer. He joined us in 88, but still the drummer. No, 87, sorry, whatever. He came from the hardcore punk scene. He had so much different music, and also I think he was the first one show me Frontline Assembly, and I was pretty much blown away. But it's very 80s, so you should know, like, that music. Like today, electronic music is not such a big deal because you can make it on your tablet almost, But then it was you never heard anything close to that because synthesizers were super expensive. So bands like Depeche Mode, of course, or whatever, they use that, or the new wave bands, pop bands of the 80s. But when these same instruments were used, like, in a really crazy, dark, and bizarre way, that was truly unique. Like, I don't know, so all these things influenced me, I think, in my vocal techniques too. And then when I had this kind of, we wanted, after Tormentor, I had a friend, still we are good friends actually, who we wanted to something like more light music, just for a short try. Was a little bit like this post-punk Billy Idol-ish style. I had that band, they even had no name really yet or anything. But then I remember I went to see a vocal teacher just to see how it goes. And that was the first time I heard about vocal techniques, and like breathing techniques are important. And first of all, the emotion and your straightforwardness and your heart is the most important, of course. But the second thing is like the hi-fi, the technique.
Yeah.
You can with the right breathing techniques, like when you put the music on a hi-fi, you can really expand it and make it. So that's how I started to experiment. I actually didn't attend too long for that vocal teacher, Maria Sandro. She was like already old. That was early 90s. She was above 80. Like an old opera prima donna, and she taught me a lot about like breathing techniques. That's how important they are, what they were. And when I learned a little bit from her, I dropped off after like half half a year actually. But I learned the basics and I started to experiment with that. And then when I had later, like the Jesus Christ, I was asked to be Caiaphas in Jesus Christ Superstar, and the famous like Jesus Must Die, and songs like that. So when I saw it, I was like, how could I say no? I didn't have anything else to do. Like it's like end of 90s. So that was the second time I went to another opera teacher who was also coming from the opera or classical music, and her name was Esther Póka, by the way, but she teach the same thing. She was talking about the same breathing, everything, but in another way, with a little bit different exercises, everything. So then I realized, wow, this is the same shit, it's the same thing again, and it's something like if you are a vocalist, I think it's really good to have like basic lessons at least to hear about it. And of course, I mean, the best if you do it in person with a teacher, but you should know it's not so easy because vocals, it's very important. Like we all have a unique individual body, our body type with a different horse, a different skull, the different things in your body. And think about like the vocal cord is like, it's just here. It's like a 1.5 centimeter piece of kind of like a slot membrane or something, and the air goes through and it's like doing that. And, it's like, is all the sound is like with the guitar and the guitar strings, all the sound is made by your body and how you open for the air, the different parts of your body. And you have to learn your own body structure and you have to learn to use different muscles like the diaphragm and stuff, but we don't use anymore so much like normally. It's great. And then you start to understand and I think actually I could recommend this to anyone, because especially now I got aged wine, but I've been into traditions for a long time. And I did wushu before, when I was younger, like kung fu, the Chinese martial art. Not really fighting, in the more meditative, kind of more Zen way. And then I started to do meditation again, and it's been also now a long time. I've been doing it different ways, especially in the stupid COVID time. I really needed it to avoid to go nuts, So meditation is also like everything, all this or yoga, if you like, is they all talk about breathing as well. That's the basic thing. So breathing is very important, and it's very if you breathe right, it's very healthy, it's very good for you. So it's not just for the vocals, it's for everything. And I was lucky. I played water polo when I was kid. I was racing. I was even in national team in Hungary. Like
I was just about to say, I'm sure I saw something where you were talking about. I mean, you were nearly a professional athlete at some.
Yeah.
You could have gone down the route of being a professional athlete when you were younger.
Yeah, I'm happy I didn't do it. When music came, it killed it. When I was like 15, 16. My parents, especially my dad, didn't like that to see too much, but I was good. I made it for national team, but only the second line. So I was, every team has a second line. So you have like the 6 guys are playing and the 6 who is the replace in case, So I made it to the second line, which was, of course, like I was still one of the best. I mean, and actually that my teammates made to Olympics, a few, like Frank Todt and Zoltán Kosz. Zoltán Kosz was like, I think a couple of gold medal, and he was like world goalkeeper. It was from my team. He was 2 years older than me, but I sometimes trained with him as well. Hungary has been good in this sport. Anyway, I think that swimming and that stuff helped my breathing. So that's helped my lungs, so it was probably meant to be. It's like a karma. That was like,
Oh,
because I did it from an early age. I started
yeah.
when I was like 10 years old. So I did it almost for 10 years when I started to play music,
Yeah. Which is
so
money in the bank, as they say. Do you find that as you've gotten older and as the production of a Mayhem live show has gotten much more expansive, do you find that it's getting more challenging to keep your voice in good shape when you go on tour?
I don't, luckily, yet. I knock it. I think my voice is in a good shape, but I'm always working on it constantly. It's not like, yeah, now I got it, because every day is another day. Your body looks, actually, my body looks different in a way every day. It's, you have to tune it every day, the instrument, so to say. It's sometimes it's just in my mind, but I do, for instance, breathings or some meditation, some stuff these days. Some other day I did warming up, or maybe I do some warming up now too. It's different periods, but I think I've been very lucky with my voice. I never lost it, so it's good. But I think these techniques help you a lot to also to avoid any damage on your voice, because obviously, like, it's extreme to use like that.
Yeah.
Every night, it's very hot on stage, and certainly you have to push it for hours. So it's a little bit like going to the ring, and you have
Yeah.
to.
Well, I mean, for you in particular, it must be very hot. So I imagine by the time it gets to you guys doing, the last couple of the old songs, Death Crush, Chainsaw Guts, fucking stuff, you're like, thank God I can take this fucking thing off and just cool down a little bit.
Yeah, it's. I like it. It's different, but then again, I think it's different for everybody, and it's every vocalist have to learn, study his stuff, personally. And I was thinking maybe one day I should start like something like a class about it, or share my knowledge, in a wider perspective, share some exercises and stuff with the next generation to come,
I don't think it's a bad idea. The problem is you're going to be too busy when you get the speaker cable company up and running.
I hope so. I hope so. Let's hope. We'll see.
Have you got a name for them yet, for the speaker cables?
We call it Edison cables, like from Edison and the ohm word, like playing with the words. But I'm not sure yet if I like that name. I will promote it, so it will be something connected to me, like Attila's cable. I don't know. Maybe it's better. It's but I had a name. It takes some time. But right now it's called Edison. Still, Edison cables. I'm thinking to do it a little, maybe more black metalish. I don't know which way to go. It's still in an early stage, but I have, what I would, if you are you coming to our shows? Because maybe I can give you one, and I would like to hear your review.
Well, when you guys are in the UK, so I'm based out of the UK.
Are you UK? Yeah, sure.
If you're in the UK again, yeah, definitely.
I can send you over later, bro. We can change.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Detail.
It'll be a good. I mean, it's a good test system to have it in as well, because this cable I've got in right now is the Audio Quest Robin Hood, which is which is a pretty serious heavyweight cable. So it'll be a good one to be contrasting that against.
Yeah. I would love to hear your opinion about that. Truly, every review is important, and it just. It's something very unique. It's something really. It's my hobby. I even don't think about the money so much. It's just my passion. Like I would love to share it. Get it out that cable. So I don't know why. I feel it's like part of my mission, just to do something about the sound, since I've been passionate about that for so long time. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. If you're passionate about music, I think if you're truly passionate about it, you want to hear it represented in the best way possible. And I think once you've experienced high-end audio, I truly believe there's no going back. I mean, when as you said, I can listen to a song on my phone and think, okay, that sounds pretty cool, but it doesn't do the same thing for me. I don't get that same jolt to my innards that I get when I've got it on my hi-fi, and it's everything is nicely warmed up and doing what it needs to be doing.
And my whole point is, like, I was even thinking, like, maybe make some recommendations of some ancient speakers for like different price categories, like to get, because I think this cable, why I'm doing this, because you can hear it. You don't need an expensive, like, I love like vintage hi-fi. I think it's really cool. But anyway, you don't need a very expensive amp and speaker, and you will hear the different already. So like, especially if you have like I could recommend people like get some like 80s Pioneer or Technics or a Kenwood or some amp, certain speakers. Well, now I'm not even gonna go, I don't know, I even don't want to go there now, but I could do this kind of list. And it's not, I mean, we are deeper, but for an enter level, you can, I think it's for 500-600 euro or maybe max 1K, you can already put together something which is really, really cool. And it's almost like, it will give you the impression already. And
go on eBay, get a relatively decent DAC, get a you can get like my first amplifier that I bought was an Arkham P85, and I not P85, sorry, A85, and I biamped that with an Arkham P35, and I had a pair of Bowers & Wilkins CM10S1 speakers. So, and that sounded perfectly reasonable. But then, as you know, from when the bug bites you, it's kind of like, okay, what's next? It's always like, okay, I can get that little bit of extra performance out of it. How am I going to make that happen?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good. And it's also good to have like, like you don't know first. It's so much stuff. If you don't know this genre or this era, it's not easy. Okay, what should I buy? What to match with what, and how it is. So I would like to make maybe a web page and I give a little bit of suggestions or like how to approach to the thing, or just to get people into it, because I think it's fading out a little bit,
Oh, for sure.
Like the 80s was so different, hi-fi was huge, and now it's more like people just, since the computer came, and the computer speakers, now it's became like, more compact, like this Bluetooth and shit, which is good, but it's not the same, like we talk about. It's not the same experiment, and it's still okay, but yeah, I want to keep that flame alive.
It does. I totally agree, and it doesn't sound the same. You can have. I've heard people will play their Sonos sound bars to me and stuff like that, and I'm like, this sucks, mate. For the price you paid for that new, I can get you something secondhand on eBay that's going to blow that completely away. Like, I'm not saying go and spend as much money as I've spent.
And we are talking about amps, like it's not a car. So it's not aging like that, like an 80s amp is not gonna, it's different aging. It's not gonna be, it's not like by the time they break down or something, you find a good one with a good condition, it will still run, and I mean, I completely agree. That's very different. And I don't know, I just want that. I want to keep that, and I just would like to share that with the kids, with the next generations too. And also, if everybody collects vinyl, but what's the point? First of all, vinyl is still, talking about high end, it's still the top in high end, I mean, still the analog is the top, but also like to enjoy that extra what the vinyl can give you, you need a little bit better system, Otherwise, it's just you could listen MP3, So whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So,
if you ever go to, so I'm definitely going to go to Munich High End next year. If you guys aren't touring and you end up going, then we must definitely hook up. I'll because I will go with some industry folk as well, so I can introduce you to a couple of people, and we always have a very good time when we're in Munich. So I had dinner
I would love to come
with the guys from Griffin Audio. The last time that I was there, I wasn't there this year, which I was very, very sad about because I ended up missing the launch of the Apex and Commander flagship preamp and power amp that Griffin have put out. But the year before, I was out to dinner with all of them. Awesome guys. And the great thing about them is, I mean, they like at the very, very high end of high end, but they truly love music, and you hear it come out in the stuff they make.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I would not mind to hook up with someone in this business because it's hard to do this full time, by playing music, I'm just so happy to have it. I just want to share it, but definitely I should come. When is it? I know I never been to the Munich.
It's normally you would be in heaven. You have to brace yourself because you're going to hear an awful lot of jazz. And you're going to hear Dire Straits at least 500 times over the course of a weekend. But it's normally in May. I'll tell you now when it's going to be. Hold on.
May, okay.
So Munich 2024. Munich High End 2024. So I think next year, May 9 to 12th. Next year.
May 9 to 12. Okay.
Yeah. 550 exhibitors. I mean, I was there last time for 3 days, and like I only finished like really having gone through all of the, seen all the exhibitors.
No, I mean, I can imagine
in about 3 days.
No, I mean, it's not just you need time on each system to understand. It's not like you can't just run through everything. It's not like, it's like any other exhibition. You need some time to watch a painting. You can just It's I would love to come. Definitely, and it sounds good. And actually, I if I'm right, I even free then, as it looks like now. So yeah, it would be great. And yeah, I'm kind of talking to some people. I'm open to a collaboration with a company. Just take my cable if you want, because then you can make sure it get to the people and stuff, to do this alone. I mean, it's connected to music, but it's very different from the music business, which is music. I mean, it's another thing, and but yeah, we'll see what the future brings, Sounds
so I'm gonna. I know you've got to get to rehearsals. I want to ask you one last question to wrap up. I saw the video. I never thought I would see my entire life of you on stage with Pantera doing Walk a couple of weeks ago, which is awesome because I fucking love Pantera, and I think anybody of sound mind should agree. But how did that happen? How did that who hooked that up? Did you know Phil from previously, or know somebody else in the band?
I know Phil from previously. He invited me to his this horror score festival. I think it was called that. The only one happened, unfortunately. It's a sad story at the end. But anyway, I mean, his partner passed away. Just to cut it short. It was pretty sad. But it was a great festival, like a horror film festival. And I played there with my solo stuff called Void of Voices. And I made like live score for a horror movie called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is the first ever made like even thriller. Like I think it's from 1917, maybe, something like that, silent movie. So anyway, I think we met before briefly on some festivals, but then we hung for a couple of days, of course, and we became very good friends. And then it was the first time they were in Budapest, and actually we hung the day before, so I could show her around my city, and we had some dinner and stuff. But that thing was not planned, so actually I was also surprised because I was just at the show. Actually, I was down at the audience when he already like dedicated a song for me. It was a show in Budapest, like sold out. Actually, they had 2 shows actually in the row, and I normally like to watch, the shows actually from the audience. I don't like to watch so much from the side of the stage, when someone invite me. But then something told me like, okay, let's go back, see what's going on. I went back to the backstage and decided the show, and then his pair, his partner Kate, who is a really cool woman, she's a friend of mine too, and she came to me, hey, do you want to sing in the next song? Like, what is it? Like, Walk. Okay, sure. And I try to remember what it was, the song, and it was actually hard to recall. So, but of course I knew the Respect Walk part, So it just happened in the moment, so it was not rehearsed or anything. And suddenly I found myself on stage with Phil, it was really funny. Crazy.
That is awesome. I know those lyrics off by heart because aside from the fact that I'm a big Pantera fan,
luckily it's not too hard.
I'm about to say it's not very challenging. My daughter used to be obsessed
when I heard the riff, of course immediately I remember the song. But I remember first I was like, what is it? How was it? Like I haven't listened for a while. But it's cool. It's very, very nice, and I'm very happy that they are back, actually. I think they sound great, actually, with this lineup.
I agree.
I haven't heard them before, though, I must admit. I haven't heard with them, with Dimebag and Beanie, So, but they sounded good. Yeah. Zach is doing a good job, I think. Also on the guitar. It was cool.
I totally agree. Listen, Attila, thank you so much. This is, like I said, this is going to be episode 200. I think almost on my very first episode, I said one guy that I want on this podcast more than anything is Attila from Mayhem. So I'm so glad that it finally it finally happened, and I'm glad we've got a lot of things in common. So, like I said, I usually appreciate your time. Enjoy the upcoming Cannibal Corpse tour, and hopefully I see you in Germany next year.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. It's it was really a pleasure to do this. Thank you for the questions, and keep in touch. And let me, just share the contacts. And it was great. I never been in a podcast actually. It's the first time, I think. And congratulations for your 200, bro. Keep it up.
Thank you very much, man. That was Life Eternal by Mayhem, recorded live for their new live album, Demonic Rites. The band, of course, Mayhem. That album is available right now on Century Media, and the man on the microphone, Attila, was my guest this week. A massive thank you to him, and I hope that you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I did recording it. Also, apologies in advance to anybody who was a little zoned out because of the first 15 minutes worth of high-end hi-fi. There was a strategy to it. I learned my lesson from the conversation that I had with Gol, and I made sure that I engaged the guest with something that I knew he was interested in from the get-go, and I myself am very interested in high-end hi-fi, as all of you know. So it was easy having that chat. I am actually going to, because I've had quite a few folks asking me about my setup. I did do 2 episodes way back where I spoke about just pure hi-fi nerdery for the whole entire episode. I'm not going to do another one of those, but what I may do when I get round to it is a chat about, well, I actually do like a video specifically for YouTube where I'll take you through a tour of what I've got. But either way, it will be a blast to have Attila back on the podcast at some point, hopefully in the future. And I'll keep you guys posted on whether or not we end up going to the Munich high-end hi-fi show, because I can only imagine what a fucking adventure that would be. Now, I want to talk about some new music. There has been a ton of really, really good stuff come out recently. The new Sulphur Eon is absolutely fantastic. The new Sladir, as much as I detested the comments of Sladir's main man talking about how there's nothing good coming out in black metal, I have to say White Heart, the new Sladir album, is remarkable and a definite contender for the top 30 of 2023. I'm going to do a proper roundup of my favorite releases next week, but I did want to talk specifically about the new Woe record, because I feel that in the midst of all of these very exciting things happening, this is an album that I don't think is getting quite the attention that it should do, and that is a problem. Now, Woe, for those of you guys that don't know, has been around since 2007. They are a New Jersey-based band. My man Ralph Schmidt referenced them the last time that he and I spoke for the podcast. Big fan of them. I know he is, and they're signed to Vendetta Records, the same as Ralph's band, Ulfa. But the new album, Legacies of Frailty, is a follow-up to Hope Attrition, which they put out back in 2017. That album was released independently. This one is out on a label. It features principally Chris Grigg doing just about everything on the record except for the drums, which is provided by Lev Winstein. And if you are a fan of second wave black metal but through a prism of Americana, then this is absolutely the band for you. I can recall bands like Cobalt and perhaps even my fellow horseman of the podcasting apocalypse, Mike Hill's Tombs, but Woe are kind of an entity all of on their own. There are hints to those bands. There's definitely hints to I would say even bands like Akakaka on this particular record, but you get for your money's worth 6 songs that are beautifully self-contained, exceptionally well crafted. They go from fast, probably a lot faster to the songs that you were used to hearing on Hope Attrition, down to just really dark, doomy, gloomy tracks, songs with a lot of atmosphere, a lot of melody. This is definitely not a band that kind of sits with one style of black metal for an entire song. There's always something different and something interesting happening. And as I said, I absolutely love it. I think the production is absolutely sensational. I think the album cover is phenomenal. And I think this is an album that you definitely, whatever you do, should not be sleeping on, despite the fact that I know we're all pressed for time and that there's a huge amount of new stuff coming out. I'm going to play you one of my favorite songs off the album right now. This is a song called Shores of Extinction. You just listened to Shores of Extinction by Woe off the album Legacies of Frailty. It's available right now on Vendetta Records. Link to the Woe Bandcamp will be in the description to the podcast. Head over there, check out some music, let the band know who sent you. And if you like what you heard, Chris will hopefully be on the podcast next week. I have a conversation scheduled with him for this coming Thursday, so provided all goes to plan, episode 201 is going to be a fucking kick-ass one indeed. From 201 to episode 1, I mentioned very early on in the podcast that I had a special guest host on tap for this week's installment of my news rant, and he is none other than my good friend Marco of Stellar Master Elite.
Round them up for judgment. And hang them where the world can see.
So, welcome back to Into the Necrosphere. It's been quite a while since you've been on the podcast, actually, but we did talk offline, and I did say it wouldn't feel right to celebrate episode 200 and not have the man that helped start it all after at least 15 false starts to have you on, mate. So nice to see you again. How's everything going?
That's correct. Yeah, hello. Congratulations to episode 200.
Thank you very much.
I'm quite impressed that you made it that far.
What, after the first episode, you thought, fuck it, this podcast will last 5 episodes tops.
Oh, but it's great to see and to see the progression there as well. I mean, like if you saw the first few episodes and was kind of like improvised and whatnot.
Well, I mean, it's still largely improvised and it's still all DIY, but it's not. I've learned a couple of tricks along the way. So the thumbnails are a little bit better, the production's a little bit better. The producer, or actually the producer and the presenter, he's still an asshole. So. But listen, before we get started on Metal Storm, what's news with you? The most critical news that I'm actually holding on for is to hear when the new Stellar Master Elite is going to be coming out.
That's impossible to say at the moment because we are really slow.
No shit.
I mean, like, no, basically, yeah. I mean, like, we've got like loads of scheduling problems with rehearsals and writing and whatnot. It's going to take a long time, I guess. But we have to get ourselves in the mood as well to sit down in the rehearsal space and to write new music. It's always the most tricky part, but when we are on the flow, that will be all right, I guess. So
and you guys are writing though, right? You're writing new music, because you sent me like some clips from time to time.
Yeah, constantly. Like we are jamming a lot when we find the time to actually make music together. We jam a lot, and we of course we record the riffs and when we are playing together, and we've got tons of ideas, but we somehow have to put it together the right way so that it's actually these songs actually sound like songs. And it's going to be a bit challenging, but I guess if it clicks, then it clicks, and kind of optimistic that we will get there soon.
Yeah. Oh well, mate, I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm only only teasing you about when you guys put it out. You need to put it out when it's ready. But yeah, the for me, hologram temple is fantastic. I've kind of over the years become even more partial to 3 than I am to hologram temple, but I think that might be because I wore hologram temple out. Like I completely and utterly wrecked that record for myself with how many times I listened to it when I first discovered it.
That's great to hear. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
For me, it's always when you like listen to your own music. I mean, like in the process of having the album, writing that music, and until it's released and you listen to it hundreds if not thousands of times, and it's really, really hard to listen to your own stuff. So it's really hard to have an opinion on it when you like listen to shit out of it.
So you need a producer, mate. The guy from Into the Necrosphere I hear is he's taking he'll accept offers for his time. Cash offers for his time.
Okay.
By the way, a random question, because I know we've spoken about this on Messenger, or at least you watched the opening game, which was France New Zealand, but Rugby World Cup. Did you watch the greatest game of rugby that 2 nations have ever played against each other, which took place last night?
Are you referring to
being October the 15th, France versus South Africa?
I've watched parts of it. And it's I saw the last part of the match, and it was kind of tight, wasn't it?
It was about as tight as things get. It was. I mean, and again, people are going to have to, let me just indulge me for like 2 seconds here. But you go onto any like vlogger, any blog, anywhere, like every single person this morning was saying that was the greatest game of rugby ever played. It was like crazy intense for the first 40 minutes, just like attack. And then second half was just like absolute brute force defense. But I must confess, today I find myself never ever having been more proud of my nation than I was last night. It was fucking unbelievable. I've never been so tensed up during a game as well. Like the last 10 minutes, it was like literally your toes are curling up because it's on such a knife edge, and it was like if they fuck up once, there's no way that France is going to spare them. So it was unbelievable. If anyone doesn't know anything about rugby and you want a reason, or at least you're looking for a reason as to why I love it so much, just go and rewatch that game, and actually, frankly, rewatch the other quarterfinal that was Saturday night, New Zealand.
New Zealand was great.
That was unbelievable, absolutely incredible. I did call a upset there though, and I didn't want to publicly speak about it, but I do have the evidence because I spoke to a couple of my bros, and I said, mark my words, there's going to be an upset there. People are taking the All Blacks lightly after they lost to France. Never take the All Blacks lightly, and no, they paid the price.
No, it's going to be interesting in the semifinals now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not counting my chickens when it comes to England and South Africa, because again, I think to count down England is a massive mistake. Hopefully South Africa get past them though, because a South Africa All Blacks final in the World Cup is going to be, I mean, that will just be one of the most incredible things ever.
Can't get any better than this, can't it?
Fuck no. I mean, it's I have to say, you have to give the way things have worked out, this has been one of the greatest World Cups I can recall, if not the greatest. I mean, it's just fucking unbelievable. Like the quality of the matches have been incredible. These quarterfinals have been outrageous. There have been some cool surprises. I'm really pleased to see Argentina going through to the semifinals. I was hoping that Fiji would go through to the semifinals, but that was not to be. But it's been very, very cool. All right, let's listen to some music, mate. So the first headline on Metal Storm, Ninkar Sag drop new track. Are you familiar with the work of Ninkar Sag at all?
Absolutely not. I think that's the first time I hear that name.
Yeah, I have played one of their songs on the news rant before, but I know I'm pretty confident I enjoyed it as well. But it's not like I can't it doesn't immediately come to mind how it sounds when I see the name. So it says here, Ninkar Sag are unveiling Beneath the Cloak of Nightfall track, a first preview of their forthcoming EP, The Black Swords of Winter, to be released through Vendetta Records. Additional details coming soon. Vendetta Records have been on quite a roll recently, I think, especially with Ultha and with Woe. I think the new Woe album that I spoke about earlier on in this episode is really, really cool. And the folks from Ninkar Sag are actually from Liverpool in the UK. So this is a follow-up to the Dread March of Solemn Gods, which they put out in 2021. But I'm going to shut the fuck up and let's listen to it. What do you think?
Sounds promising.
I think
when I heard that opening riff, I had to immediately think about Grand Declaration of War.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I really like the opening riff. I feel that second sequence, it feels a little bit redundant to me. It feels like there's a little bit of it's fat. It's kind of something you could have trimmed out of the song and maybe gone straight from the riff into like the fast part that we just got into now. But that opening riff is that's dirty, that's nasty shit. I like that very much. As I said, it seems to be a little superfluous adding that sequence before the song gets faster, but it certainly sounds promising so far.
Definitely, and I love that bit of vocals we heard as well, like really good vocals.
I'm always surprised, by the way, when I listen anytime I listen to a Stellar Master Elite song, I still have to kind of remind myself that's Marco on vocals there. It's like you are the person I can least associate with those vocals of anybody that I know. I don't mean it in a bad way, but it's like it's actually a compliment. It's like it's such fucking badass, nasty vocals. It's like, to think that it's coming out of your little body, surprised.
No, I'm not doing the growls. That's Eric. I'm doing the black metal part. So,
well, that's what I'm specifically referring to.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. Let's hear the rest of this.
Sorcery
I'll bet my life whoever wrote that riff is a big, big fan of film scores. There's something that sounds quite cinematic about it.
Yeah, it sounds really promising. I definitely have to put that on my list. I mean, like the only critic point I would have is that the drums sound a bit muddy.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially there's like a part where it's kind of it's fast, but it's slightly offbeat. The drums just seem to lose all power there, and then it seems to come back a little bit when the song kind of kicks into that main I would assume chorus part that we were just listening to now. But that particular melody I really liked it because it goes down a direction that you don't expect it to, and it absolutely has a cinematic quality to it.
Yeah, definitely. And when will that EP be out? Additional details coming soon, right?
Additional details coming soon. So yeah, no comment here. But they had a record out in 2021 called The Dread March of Solemn Gods. So if you want to go back and check that out, that's one to listen to.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff.
Okay, right. Let's move on. As I Lay Crying are headlining the Empiricon Festival Tour in 2024. I'm quite surprised by that because Empiricon have been pretty hard line when it comes to who they cancel. And considering old Tim Lambesis' history, I'm very surprised to see he's been forgiven. But
what has he done?
He tried to assassinate his wife.
Oh,
he didn't try to assassinate her. He tried to pay $10,000 or something like that to have a hitman take her out, which was maybe a bit extreme.
I'm surprised he's not in jail for that.
Well, he was. Okay. And apparently, I think he was blaming it on roid rage or something like that. It was something fucking ridiculous like that.
Fuck.
But anyways. All right, Sadus launch Scorched and Burnt single and lyric video. East Bay thrash metal legends Sadus are back with a blistering new single, Scorched and Burnt, from their long-awaited new album, The Shadow Inside. The latter will be their first one in 17 years and will land in stores on November the 17th, 2023 via Nuclear Blast Records. I feel there's another one of these kind of crazy runs to the end of the year with all these new albums coming out, and Nuclear Blast seems to be at the front of the pack there because there's a new Suffocation coming out, which I surprisingly think is fucking excellent. And then Sadus. And I've been a big fan of this band. I for a long time, I've always thought that they were very, very overlooked by particularly the kind of younger guard. And I say that even as a fan of a band or of an album like Out for Blood, which I know not a lot of people enjoyed. Certainly not as many as I did.
I was super impressed. I really don't know when that was exactly, but when I first heard Swallowed in Black, it was absolutely crazy, that album, especially the bass lines. Holy fuck. And I see Di Giorgio on that picture. Is he back in the band, or?
It looks like it, yeah. I could swear I had listened to, or not listened to, I could swear I'd had them on the news rant before, and they announced that Di Giorgio was back in the band.
Holy fuck! I mean, like I know that this is an old picture, but it would make no sense to like show him there if he wasn't back.
No, although they have had news about Morbid Angel on there, and then they have David Vincent on the photo, and this is quite recent. And not the man Steve Tucker. But anyway, let's give this a quick listen. We're going to know soon enough if it's Steve DiGiorgio on bass in any case.
Yeah.
One man came with his way. One man came with his way to show them what has been. With nothing lost at our cost to bring them to their knees. Pain and wise, never seen. Scorched, but fine. Time is blind, the ways of old. The world just burns out of control.
That is hard. That is fucking hard.
Absolutely
it's
amazing.
insane to me to think that Darren Travis, who's singing there, is 56 years old already, and he still sounds that badass. And I mean, he's originally from San Francisco, so he's got plenty to be pissed off about. But he just sounds absolutely sensational. I mean, the whole band sounds in top form.
Yeah, but if I could, for me, the bass isn't prominent enough, so I would say it isn't DiGiorgio.
Yeah, that is maybe a point. I'm gonna have to look it up actually when we get back to it. But yeah, normally you would hear, you would hear that fretless bass, or that sort of typical bass craziness that he's known for.
I think
this does have a similar vibe to me to Out for Blood, though, as far as the type or the style of thrash that they're doing.
I hope there will be like a faster part. But what I was going to say is that I think that was one of the most insane things I saw, like bass playing wise, like when I saw Testament, and DiGiorgio was there on stage with his was it 2 strings or 3 strings bass guitar? Absolutely,
I don't know. Yeah,
crazy.
I have unfortunately never seen I've never seen Testament live, mate. One of the bands that are they're on the list, and I want to make sure that I see them because I don't want them to become like another Nevermore. Nevermore was like one of those bands where I always wanted to see them, and for whatever reason, something always came up when they played, and then unfortunately, by the time I could make it happen, it was too late. But no. So Testament is definitely there. But you said you found them pretty dull live.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was because they didn't play that much of their really old songs like Over the Wall and things like that, and they were promoting clearly their latest album at the time there. And I was not, or I'm still not into that newer stuff of them that much as I was with the 80s and 90s albums. But I don't know. I mean, like they are great musicians, and but it felt it lacked a bit of intensity for me somehow.
That's because Skolnick was out thinking of his next rap song, his next political rap song, and Chuck Billy is getting on in years. But I just had a gander while we were talking. Now, by the way, Steve DiGiorgio is not on this album.
Okay.
So one guy on Metal Archives was reviewing the first EP they put out called "It's the Sickness." And he says his biggest gripe is that Steve DiGiorgio is not on the album.
And I was going to say I didn't want to like slander Testament or something like that, but they were on tour with Exodus, and Exodus played before Testament, so I had seen it before Testament.
I think I've told you this. I saw Exodus, Obituary, and Prong play live. And I was stunned by how good Exodus were. Like they were literally playing like a bunch of young men. It was like they were a new band wanting to show everybody what they could do. They were fucking fantastic.
Yeah, even like if you look at Tom Hunting on drums, I mean that guy is in the end of his 50s as well. As far as
in the end of his 50s, in remission from cancer.
Yeah, and it's he always has been like one of my favorite metal drummers. And you can see it live. That guy is absolutely fit. Yeah.
No, it's I say in remission. I think he's like fully recovered now, but still, I mean, they took a massive toll on the poor guy. But fucking, just absolutely incredible. All right, let's get back to this.
It's
this is fucking badass. I'll tell you something else. I don't know whether you were paying attention to it, but John Allen's drumming is superb on that song. It reminded me a little bit, for some reason, like when that song sped up a little bit, it reminded me a bit of Vinnie Paul.
With that bass drum accents.
Yeah. Like that, there's definitely some Vinnie Paul in there. Like, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder why the Pantera guys never spoke to this dude about drumming for them. Because, no offense to Charlie Benante, but I mean, he's no Vinnie. And you can hear it when you hear the live Pantera stuff now.
I've seen just a few videos of that new Pantera reincarnation, and
dude, I know a couple of homies that have seen it and they loved it. They just thought it was absolutely incredible.
I would love to see that as well.
Well, you never will in Germany because Phil's
because of the white wine.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, I am definitely giving a thumbs up to Sadus. That is fucking absolutely fantastic, I think. All right, next up we've got
the audio is really
Is it all right now?
The audio is really bad at the moment.
It shouldn't be. It sounds fine on my side. I'll tell you what that is. That's the government listening. Oh. As soon as they heard you make jokes about the fact that Phil Anselmo's banned, they were like, "Oh, need to throttle this guy's bandwidth."
Now it's better again.
All right.
Thank you, CIA.
It is the CIA. Cold are putting a new album out. They are saying after releasing Svartsen in June 2022, Norwegian black metal representatives Cold have just entered the studio where the recording process of the next full-length offering is in full swing. I actually quite liked Svartsen. I'm going to bet that that Svartsen is going to be considerably better than whatever Satyricon put out next.
I can bet.
All right, what else have we got here? Funeral Vomit, Spectral Parasite track revealed. It says here, Colombian death metal formation Funeral Vomit have launched a lyric video of the song Spectral Parasite, serving as a second advanced single from their upcoming debut record, Monumental Putrescence, which will see the light of day on December the 19th through Extreme Music. By the way, just as a side note, speaking of funerals, I thought I detected possible, like I had a hunch there might be a new Funeral Mist album incoming.
Oh, really?
There was this random photo that Mortus posted on the Funeral Mist Instagram page, which typically indicates activity of some sort. I know they're on tour right now, but he tends to work pretty fast. And, you know, obviously when your music is entirely written by Satan, he doesn't have to spend time.
Yeah, and it will come out of nowhere again. Like I think you spoke about that in your last episode as well. That Funeral Mist, they just drop an album and without any.
I don't know for sure. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I have a hunch it's coming.
That would be awesome. But I'm still digesting the last one.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, the last one was such a surprise, and it's such a monumental black metal record. But I wouldn't be surprised if the new one comes out. What did you think of the new Marduk?
I have to admit that I didn't listen to the whole album yet. Only a couple of songs. But I
would have thought you would absolutely love it.
The songs I heard were great, but I don't know why I didn't hear it in its entirety yet. I really have to do that. Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah,
but what I heard was absolutely stunning.
Totally back to form, in my opinion. And definitely like a big cut above Victoria. Victoria was not good. Anyway, all right. Yeah, werewolf. They listened to Behemoth with Jesus Christ, and they thought, oh, let's see if we can one up them. Anyway, all right, let's hear what Funeral Vomit sounds like. That, my friends, is a fucking pile of shit.
That sounds like Colombia.
Yeah, it's actually weird. Are there any good bands, like genuinely good bands out of Colombia, not named Inquisition, and we're not meant to talk about them?
I have no fucking idea, really. I don't think
the drumming is terrible. Those vocals are awful, and the riff sounds like something a fucking 13-year-old would write.
But you have to give the South Americans that they are absolutely passionate and underground as fuck.
Yeah, no, that is true. That's very true. Very, very extremely passionate. And speaking of South Americans, the Cavalera album was very good. The Morbid Visions, re-recording, I thought was excellent. Yeah,
it really was. But I love the original as well. It has its charm.
Well, it's also one of those really passionate albums. Like you can hear, in spite of the fact that they're probably playing on equipment that cost about as much as the guitar strings that Max uses nowadays. In probably the biggest hovel of a studio, they are really giving it their all.
Yes. And then you can hear them on the early Sarcophago albums as well.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the Sarcophago record. What was the album that I was such a fucking that I recently rediscovered? And
Inri.
No, it was, I think, The Law of Scourge.
Was it after
The Laws of Scourge? It came out in 1991. I played a song by them on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. It's such a fucking cool record. Just so far ahead of its time, just with like the way that there's black metal elements, there's death metal elements, there's that old school thrash vibe. There's a bit of hardcore crossover stuff in there. It's just absolute genius.
They were really ahead of the time, really.
Yeah. Worth checking out that album.
Old Sepultura, Sarcophago, it's absolutely not.
So Aeternus are putting out a new record called The Philosopher. The last time I paid any attention to them was with Ascension of Terror that they put out in 2001, and I didn't like that. I remember being very, very excited about Aeternus and like really desperately wanting to hear their music. It's like they were still probably from the layover of the days when I was leafing through Nuclear Blast catalogs to figure out what I was going to listen to and buy next. And I remember, they were described as black and death metal. They were like they were like one of the first bands that were actively described as black and death metal. So I thought they were going to be brilliant. And then Ascension of Terror I listened to, and it was about as exciting as fucking blowing my nose. So I've not been someone to keep an eye on anything else that they've done. I know they've put out about 3 or 4 records since then, but this one is their brand new one, their 9th, as I said. It's going to be released on November the 17th via Agonia Records, and they have put out a single called Existentialist Hunter. Are you a Aeternus fan?
I'm only familiar with their first work. Like, what was it called?
Beyond the Wandering Moon.
Yeah, and what was the other one?
And so the night
the night became, right? Yeah. And I pretty much stopped listening to them after that somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why I never got into Ascension of Terror. I was expecting something different to what I ended up hearing. But anyway, they have a chance to redeem themselves because I would otherwise not have listened to their music ever again. Let's hear what Existentialist Hunter sounds like. You look like you're nodding off over there, mate.
That's actually sounds really cool. And that riff.
You like it?
Oh yeah, and that riff
fucking
screams. Why?
It's so flat and so boring to me.
Yeah,
But no.
I think
You sell me on it. You were saying?
that riff screams Norway to me, and
that is true.
And the drums sound really, really good there.
Yeah, drums. I'm not feeling so much. The riff, I would maybe agree with you, but it does sound to me like so many other Norwegian riffs that I've heard before. And the thing about it is, like, the pedigree in this band is so high that you would think that they would come up with something that's just got a little bit more get up and go. Like Ari's the vocalist, he used to be in Gorgoroth. Phobos, the drummer, he used to be in Gorgoroth, and then Elt, who plays bass, he was in Golsverd. So, like, they've been in and around some real top-notch musicians. But as I said, this just feels, it's the exact reason why I never got into Ascension of Terror. It just feels very flat. It doesn't feel like it doesn't have that quality where it grabs you by the insides of your stomach and rips it around. Like it gives you that real feeling like you want to fuck something up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, there's still 3 minutes and 38 seconds left in this song.
All right, well,
as well,
it's first impressions, mine. So I'll concede on that.
I really like that riff so far.
All right, well, let's get back to it. You got your DiGiorgio style bass there in that. I don't know whether you could hear it on your headphones, but yeah, there's some very cool bass noodling going on during that one sequence.
That walking bass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, but in the last minute we heard, like, I think it lacks a bit of variety.
Let's jump to minute 3, and let's see if it picks up and does something completely badass, then I might be able to be convinced. But so far, I'm hearing some stuff that's cool. Like, as the song has progressed, I think the vocals are actually pretty decent. There's nothing about it that I hate. There's just nothing about it that excites me. And this is a year of very heavy traffic. So to put out an album like this, it's tough. Like, how are you going to be? How are you going to stand up or stand out amongst everybody else with something?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, but let's. I'm gonna play from the 3rd minute.
That solo sounded like it was cheesy as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, they're playing or like fiddling with this one idea for 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and they're just it's not going where they wanted to go, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like, I like that beginning, that riff, but I guess that song is going nowhere somehow.
Well, one of the biggest songs that has been, one of the biggest albums that's going to be released in the next 12 months. I don't know when exactly this is coming out, but is the new Judas Priest. And it says here, after recent new album announcement, Invincible Shield, sorry, The almighty Judas Priest now premiere a lyric video for the first streaming single called Panic Attack. Are you a big Judas Priest fan?
Yeah, I love them. I mean, like I'm not a massive diehard, but I love to listen to them every so often. Yes,
I'm a Painkiller obsessive. Like, I think Painkiller to me is one of the greatest records ever written. It's like not a single note, not a second of that album is not where it should be. And then from there on, it gets very patchy for me. Like, they've got some cool songs, but they're very hit or miss, in my opinion. Like, like
how was that album called? Like that third of an album, Nostradamus.
Oh my
Something,
god! What a load of shit.
Yes, I mean, like you can't compare it with Painkiller. But
No.
like on the other hand, like, have you listened to that KK's Priest stuff?
I have. Some of it's not bad. Some of it is silly, and also KK isn't helping himself by being a fucking crybaby that constantly in every single interview that he does goes on and on and on about how unfair it is that he wasn't invited back to Judas Priest.
Yeah, I think he's missing the cash.
Well, he's definitely missing the cash. I'll tell you what, I'm not what I don't hate. I think that Jugulator and Demolition both had their moments. Speaking of KK's Priest, I mean, firstly, I think Ripper Owens is a very good vocalist, and I think like there's a song on Jugulator called "Burn in Hell" that's very good. There is on Demolition. I'm trying to think, what's the song that I really liked on there? It'll come to me in a bit, but yeah, they were a pretty decent band at that time. It's a shame that they've kind of decided to just pretend like those albums never happened. But anyway, let's hear what Panic Attack sounds like. You held your hands out like you were either ready to embrace and kiss Rob Halford on the forehead, you couldn't believe what you were hearing.
No, that intro sounded a bit off, but when the song kicked off, it's your typical Judas Priest, I would say.
Yeah, when that intro kicked off, I started thinking to myself, like Paradise Lost have just re-recorded Icon, and we'll get to that in a little bit as well, but I thought to myself, have they re-recorded Turbo Lover? There was something that's very turbo about that intro.
Yeah, but like I said, that's your typical Judas Priest song, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, you maybe you're right. It's not Painkiller, and therefore, in my mind, it's wrong. It feels wrong to listen to. And my argument to a song like this would be, if this band came out in 2023, this was their first ever song that they put out, would they be signed off the strength of that song?
I don't think so.
No. That's always been my
Yeah.
argument about like the last Metallica album as well. Like if they put that album out today, would they be signed? The answer is no.
Absolutely not.
They get a lot of love and a lot of leeway because of their legacy, but that's about it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. People connect, happy memories to it. But I have more time and love and probably contrarily a huge amount of respect for bands that are still consistently putting out great stuff no matter how old they are. Like as you say, this is just typical Judas Priest. We've heard this before. It feels like they're fucking around with the same melody that they've been messing around with since Turbo, and frankly, this kind of reminds me a little bit of Between the Hammer and the Anvil as well. If you whistle Between the Hammer and the Anvil, and you whistled this song, I bet you the ordinary person wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, but I mean that's what people love. It's the same with bands like, I don't know, Iron Maiden, AC/DC. They always sound like Iron Maiden and AC/DC, and I think people would fucking hate them if they would like dare to experiment.
Yeah, no, maybe you're correct, but just add a little bit of spice to it. Like if you want to make another song like A Touch of Evil, that's genius. Also that's one of Halford's best vocal performances ever, in my opinion. But all right, let's give it another minute. When he says memes, it's fucking hysterical. But I have to say that last little bit is actually the best part of the song so far. I was also thinking when that song was playing, like, are they consciously leaving all that space in the chorus so that when they play this live, he has a chance to kind of catch his breath? Which I can completely understand, but it would give him literally time to recover for seconds before he has to sing again.
I mean, it's so amazing that Rob Halford still can sing like that.
But he still hits the high notes at the age of 72. It's fucking insane, mate. I can't hit those high notes, and I'm 43. I couldn't hit those high notes when I was 22. But I'm a bit. I've got mixed feelings about this song. It's not exciting me massively, and like they're a band that I so desperately want to like. Partly because of how much I love Painkiller.
Yeah, but I mean, like, as I said before, to me it feels like fan service.
Yeah,
like playing it safe, right. And I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely not something I would put on if I wanted to listen to a good record. Something,
Well, again, there's only one choice if I want to listen to one of their albums, but I mean, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be big fans, though. So, all right. There's a new song by a band called Varg. And I knew you were going to like this, which is why I particularly wanted us to listen to it. Before their new album, Ewige Wacht, hits the streets this coming Friday, Marco's favorite band, the German metalist Varg, put out a music video for the title track. Check it out. It says here, Ewige Wacht is the title track of our new album, which thematically represents the concept. It's about family and all those we call family. It's about the cycle of life, about living through our ancestors, living on in our children, and always watching over each other, even beyond death. The flame of the soul is constantly passed on and never goes out. For me personally, this is a particularly emotional track, as 4 generations of my family are involved in the video. My grandma, my mother, my daughter, and me. Have fun with Ewige Wacht. All right.
Have fun.
Hold on to your shit, because you
have fun. You have fun.
von den Ahnen einst entfacht, brennt ein Feuer in eisiger Nacht, aus dem Funken der Götter gemacht, eine Flamme, die über uns wacht. In allem umgibt uns die uralte Kraft, die tief in den Herzen erwacht. Ist ein Feuer in der Nacht.
That is fucking atrocious.
Look, you know, that's your typical stuff that your typical guy that is reading rock cards and attends the Wacken festival, running around with his drinking horn. You know,
with his drinking horn and his Viking outfit that he bought at Joker's Masquerade for 90 euro.
Exactly. Like, yeah, and your like your cheap ass kills you can buy at EMP.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, no, you're right. I've never been a fan of that kind of music. I remember when everybody was freaking out over Teresis when they came out, and I was like, "This is such a fucking pile of crap." And the fact that I think they did a cover of a ABBA song, and that made it even worse because all the fucking idiots were like all massively into that, and I was like, "Am I the only one missing this year? This song sucks, ABBA sucks, and Teresis is terrible."
Ugh. You know, like, and especially with Vag. I mean, like some years ago, they were trying to play metalcore, and first they were like trying to play black metal, and yeah, well,
it's just one of those things where I think they took the name Varg because they thought that it would appeal to like a certain subset of black metal fans, and then. Yeah, they just never quite knew what they wanted to do. But yeah, that is absolutely abysmal. What is not abysmal though is Rammstein, who are playing their new who are going to be going on tour in 2024 throughout Europe. Pre-sale actually started today. They're not playing in the UK, but they are playing in Ireland. So I was saying to Paige, we should maybe head over to Dublin and go see them play. I think they're playing on like July or June the 23rd next year.
Okay.
Then I have to see that. You know,
so they haven't been cancelled yet.
No, they've been uncancelled because Shelby Lynn was proven, unsurprisingly, to be a fucking liar and an idiot. And I don't know what the consequences for her will be. Whether she's returned the $980,000 or whatever she raised to, apparently help the rest of the supposedly hundreds of victims coming out. But yeah, I mean, it started with the Berlin Police Department dropping their investigation, saying there was nothing there. Then I think the Lithuanian Police Department never even started an investigation, and it all just fell apart. It was all just nonsense. She's gone all quiet on social media now. Yeah, it was all just crap. But you'll still find people will go online and they'll say, I remember when the news came out that it was like, okay, he's in the clear, nothing's, he did nothing wrong. This guy comments on the Metal Injection Instagram page, please, can somebody in a rock band or in a big metal band just not be a scumbag, please?
And like it was all over the media here, and my camera went. What's wrong? Okay,
it goes every time your zip comes down. Every time you disrobe and try and make a victim of me, just like Till made a victim of poor Shelby.
No, what I was going to say is that it was all over the media here, and they were topping. Like it was, everyone had to say something, and certain mayors of some cities were like trying to cancel their concerts and whatnot. And
dude, there was a guy in a I can't remember the name of the website anymore, but there was a German journalist that tried to insinuate that basically the reason why Rammstein is popular is also the reason why the AfD are gaining more political support. He referred to Rammstein, his exact quote were, the new sound of the far right in Germany.
Yeah.
It's like these guys have been so overtly left-wing since they started, and all of a sudden now they're the new far right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, like that topic came up like 20 years ago as well, because he was like rolling the R in his lyrics, and yeah, people were just accusing them of being right wing, or even worse, as Nazis, because he was like singing in German and rolling the R like some kind of popular Austrian.
Is it frowned upon to roll the R?
It's because Hitler spoke like that.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, because he had like his kind of Austrian accent, and he was rolling the R, and that's got synonymous with the Nazis of that style of speaking.
Oh shit, I didn't know that at all. I mean, South Africans have a tendency to do that, and I actually soften it purposefully because otherwise people don't understand what I'm saying. But it's like, I didn't realize that actually at all.
Yeah. I don't know if well.
He also has muscles, and if you read The Guardian, you'll know that attendance to the gym is one of the many almost surefire pathways to far-right radicalization. or as it should now be referred to, far-right radicalization.
The far-right
radicalization. All right, on to something more positive. Actually, just on Rammstein, are you going to pay your respects and go to one of their shows?
I would love to see them one time. I mean, like I'm not a massive fan of them, but I would certainly would love to see them live. Yeah. Yes,
they are the greatest export from your country, not called BMW or Hugo Boss. So...
you forgot the Scorpions.
Oh yeah, of course, the Scorpions. All right. Paradise Lost present re-recorded version of Widow. Now, I'm going to say again, I've said this many times on the show. I don't know whether I've mentioned this to you, but Meadow is going to see her first ever concert on the 1st of December. She's seeing the Paradise Lost Icon show with My Dying Bride in support. So, and I've told her Daddy has had to pay quite a lot of money for this ticket. Don't say you're bored or you want to go home, because we're not leaving till the very end. So...
That's a great first gig, isn't it?
Fuck, well, listen, it's tremendous. My first gig was a shitty band in Bloemfontein called Diversion.
Ooh. You know what my first gig was?
What?
Manowar.
Manowar? Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Manowar, a lot of people would be really chuffed about seeing. Were they there in loincloth and like oiled up pecs and biceps and the like?
Unfortunately not, but it was loud as fuck.
You were screaming from the back though. Take it off!
Yeah.
Take off your shirt.
Show me your leopard underwear.
Show me your leopard thong. All right. Anyway, it says here, to celebrate 30 years since the release of their masterpiece Icon, Paradise Lost have decided to re-record this album, which will be out on December the 1st. Below, you can check out the visualizer for the re-recorded version of the song Widow. I fucking adore the album. Absolutely adore it. It took me a while to properly wrap my head around it, but I love it. So I've been very curious to hear how the re-recorded version is going to sound. As much as I'm not a fan of re-recordings per se, I understand why they're doing it. Is because they no longer own their masters. So they had to re-record it in order to have something to put out to celebrate the record. But that being said, let's hear what this sounds like.
You're
Fucking genius song. Absolutely genius song. One thing I'll definitely say I like more about this track or this version than I did the original. I think this new drummer, Guido, is very, very, very capable. He plays drums on Strigoi as well, and he does a very good job there. And the other thing to say, Nick Holmes is still fucking fantastic. I mean, I would have left out that where he like speaks, that sort of whispered part where he goes and willing to accept decline. I would have left that out if I were the producer. But that's really my only major gripe with this.
Yeah, but it's definitely solid.
Oh yeah, no, for
and
sure.
it always takes a lot. I mean, like re-recording like iconic albums. And I mean,
no pun intended.
The line there is so thin that it's an absolute miss, or that it actually sounds good. So I think you walk a very, very thin line there.
Yeah, I agree.
If you know what I mean.
And look, I said earlier that I didn't like re-recordings, and then it's mere minutes after I was going on about how great the Morbid Visions
Bestial Devastation,
Bestial Devastation re-recording is. But yeah, this is pretty cool. You know what I think would have been a really cool idea for them to do to celebrate this record, which I mean, maybe it's just a case of them not having had the time, but it would have been quite cool to maybe do versions of the song where you have guest musicians on each one. I mean, they've been such an influential band. Get like bands like Septic Flesh and Rotting Christ, and bands that have openly said they were influenced by Paradise Lost, and have them like do get Sakis to do Dying Freedom or something like that, or get like just do like different interpretations of the songs. That would have been quite interesting, I think. But I get where they're coming from.
But that's really, really risky as well. Like experimenting with stuff people love for, like, when did the original album came out? Somewhere in the 90s, right?
The original was 94, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, no, actually I'm wrong. 1993.
Right? I mean, it's 30 years old, and people like it since then. And if you start experimenting around, it could be they be really, really dangerous, I think. Like Exodus did with the re-recording of Bonded by Blood, which was.
See, I actually quite like that. I quite like the re-recording of it, but they had a different vocalist as well, so they had reason to do it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what other re-recording is not bad. The Testament first Strike Still Deadly.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty decent.
Yeah, that was really good. But I mean that was in the 90s as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Here's what I'm thinking though. Would they have gotten more shit re-recording Gothic or re-recording?
I think Gothic.
Yeah,
it's like I think it would be like Metallica re-recording Master of Puppets.
It would be like Metallica re-recording Kill 'Em All.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have worked. But the thing with Icon is, if anything, this song or this re-recording proves just how strong the songs are on that album, because you can go top to bottom. Ember's Fire, Remembrance, Forging Sympathy, Joys of the Emptiness, Dying Free. There's not a single shit song on that record. Everything is fucking fantastic.
That's true.
Yeah, let's give it another 60 seconds, and I know exactly what it sounds like. I just want to hear it again. If they really wanted to throw people, they should have gotten Greg to do the vocals on this re-recording. His voice on Strigoi and on Valenfire is fucking sick. I mean, I did not think that he had it in him, but he is just incredible in my opinion, and he's one of my favorite guitarists of all time, hands down. All right, let's do a couple more, and then I'll cut you loose. I'll let you disappear into whatever dark, evil shit you spend your time doing.
I think I will just go to bed.
Oh, Fuming Mouth. So I've heard a lot of people talk about this song in particular being really cool. So it says here, New England death dealers Fuming Mouth unveil a new single called I'll Find You, taken from their upcoming last album, The Last Day of Sun. Upcoming album, Last Day of Sun. The terrifying, endearing new love song follows the previously released single The Silence Beyond Life. And it also features on the upcoming album due out on November the 3rd. The upcoming music video was directed, shot, and edited by Jason Zuko. Commenting on the new track, guitarist Mark Whelan says, "This is our first love song. It's about overcoming all the obstacles between you and the person you love. No matter how tired you are, no matter how lost they get, find them." They had a fucking amazing single they put out right before Mark got ill. And then the new stuff I've heard so far hasn't quite grabbed me. The song I'm talking about is They Take What They Please, and I think part of the reason I like that song so much is it reminded me a little bit of Botch, and I'm a big fan of that style of hardcore. But yeah, the stuff on this upcoming album so far not really made me too excited, and the fact that they referring to this as a love song, like I feel like Mark Lanigan has got the monopoly on love songs. There's not really a lot of other people that should be allowed to sing love songs. But anyway, let's hear what it sounds like. You know what? I should have not been a fucking idiot, and I should have realized that he's being completely and utterly sarcastic. And then that's what made me laugh as I was listening to the song even more, because he looks like such a complete psycho in the music video. It's like, that is brilliant. Absolutely fucking brilliant. I take back what I said. I'm now instantly looking forward to Last Day of Sun again. Yeah, I thought that was hard as shit. I mean, there's nothing original about it. But it's just in the delivery. The delivery just works.
It's really interesting to see, like especially like with that song, for example, like how the dynamics change when the vocals kick in.
Yeah,
somehow
you're 1,000% correct.
It definitely it automatically gives you that vibes there, you know.
Yeah, no, big time. But he's like a his vocals are just they're completely and utterly unhinged. I mean, he's a real like secret weapon as far as this band is concerned. But yeah, I fucking love that. I absolutely love it. It's got a bit of that Sunlight Studios style production in the guitars as well, which I think works quite well for them. And then the melody is great as well. It's really catchy.
Yeah, definitely is. And I mean, like, I'm not a big like hardcore aficionado, I must say, but you know, like I saw Chromax for the first time last year when I was in Belfast.
Oh yeah,
and it was absolutely brilliant.
I've never seen them before, but I have heard that they are the fucking bee's knees live.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to make sure that I change that. Actually, they put out an album in 2020 called In the Beginning, and I've never listened to it.
It's all right. I mean, like, it's Chromax, so yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna have to check that out. But this Fuming Mouth track is fucking fantastic. Let's get back to it.
I'll find you. Twist upside down. Is this I'm losing? If you're dead, then so am I. My corpses, it's a crime.
And then they have one of my favorite things ever, and that's gang vocals. I think few things are as brilliant as gang vocals. By the way, I mentioned that Mark Whelan, the singer, had been sick. He had a full bone marrow transplant. He had a very severe case of leukemia. But yeah, so to come back from that and sound this good.
Maybe he looks so psycho because of that. Like he looks like his eyes look like he had sniffed like a pound of coke.
Maybe, but I'm gonna reach out to the Nuclear Blast folks. And I'm gonna see if I can get him on the podcast because this is absolutely fucking fantastic. It's at 1000% unequivocally top notch. All right, my brother. That is pretty much us done. Thank you very much for joining me for this momentous installment of the News Rant.
Always.
And nice to talk to you, and nice to see you again as well. Are we going to make a plan to actually finally see each other in 2024?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
of course.
Have to.
It would be awesome
when you make one of your sojourns down to Ireland. What's coming of your plans to emigrate?
Yeah, it's a really tough topic, because I still want to do that, but since the UK is not part of the EU anymore, it's really hard to get a visa there because you need like a sponsored job offer, and so that the company you start working is actually sponsoring you, and there's a limit of you have to earn such and such that amount of money and whatnot in order to be able to get the visa, and then you have to pay for NHS as well. And I'm still planning to go over, but it always takes its time, and it's going to be really expensive as well. So, but yeah, maybe I'm lucky and I get a good job offer.
Well, I'm gonna get. I'm finally getting my British passport sorted out after living here for 21 years. So you could marry me, mate, and then it's going to cost you, obviously, but you can marry me and get your passport once mine is sorted. Anyway, dude, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for coming on the News Rant, and thank you very, very much that way back when on episode 1 of the podcast. You didn't tell me to fuck off after the 5th time that we had to hit the abort button on doing the episode.
In hindsight, it was actually good fun. So
yeah, it was.
Again, congratulations on episode 200, and to the next 200.
Yeah, hell yeah! Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you. Bye.
Talk soon. Bye. That, my friends, is episode 200 in the history books. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did recording it. Thank you very much to Attila for coming on the podcast. Thank you so much to Katie of Suspiria PR for making it happen. Thank you to everybody who has listened up until the very end. Make sure that you are back here again next week, where my guest will be Chris Grigg of Woe. Whatever it is that you're doing, wherever it is that you are, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you bad motherfuckers again next Tuesday.